Hey Vineyard. Today we are going to be writing introductory paragraphs for literary analysis essays for the book that we are currently reading, which is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. So, these introductory paragraphs are going to follow very specific formulas. It's a 5-sentence formula, and if you can learn this formula, you'll be able to crank out introductions for any type of essay. And let's face it, usually the hardest part of writing an essay is getting going, writing that introduction. So let's take a look at a prompt from an upcoming essay that you might choose to write. When you get your essay assignment, when we're done reading The Road, you'll have multiple options. This is one of those options. We're going to be writing an introductory paragraph for this option. And if you want to use the paragraph that you're about to write for that upcoming essay, absolutely feel free. In fact, I would recommend it, as I will likely have edited it by the time you want to insert it into that essay. So this is prompt 1 from an upcoming prompt for your essay on the road. So the prompt says, "The condition of the setting of the road is never fully explained by the narrator. Why is the world covered in ash? Where have all the people gone? Why have the remaining survivors turned into travelers, cannibals, and worse? Using your knowledge of the book and excerpts from the text, write an essay detailing what you think happened to this post-apocalyptic world, and, in doing so, explain why so many survivors act with such cruelty. Ultimately, what is McCarthy's message to the reader about the nature of humankind? Is it positive or negative?" So you are going to be writing an essay, or at least today you're going to be writing just an introductory paragraph to an essay that would be answering this prompt. And I want you to zero in on the final part of this question, because that really is the central part of this question. So the central part of this question is, why are so many survivors in this world acting with such cruelty? And ultimately, what is McCarthy saying about humankind, humanity? Is he saying something positive or negative? So that's really what your essay would be about, McCarthy's commentary on humanity. So let's talk about hooks. There are 2 types of hooks that I really want you to be familiar with when writing a literary analysis essay. The first type of hook is a catchy or dramatic statement that introduces the audience to the world of the book and the theme that will be analyzed. So basically, this is a big, bold statement that hooks your audience to the essay topic. It's sort of like a hip-hop song when you hear a beat that you're really into and it hooks you to that song and makes you want to keep listening and bopping your head to it. So too does a hook in an essay. It connects you to the essay. The second option for a hook in a lit analysis essay is a thematically relevant quote from an outside source that is linked to the topic that will be analyzed within the book. So you can find a quote from an author not named Cormac McCarthy and then link that quote to the topic that you'll be analyzing in your essay. So let's take a look today just at the quote from outside sources as means for writing a hook. So here I am going to utilize a quote from T.S. Eliot in writing a hook. So my hook states, in his poem The Hollow Men, T.S. Eliot famously wrote, "This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but a whimper." So right off the bat, I've given the author of the quote. If you're finding a quote that doesn't have an author, you might want to reconsider and find a quote that does. And I'm also stating the context from where that quote occurs. That quote occurred in The Hollow Men. So now that I've given a quote that is thematically relevant to that topic that I'm asking in The Road, I now need to build a bridge. So a bridge is going to link the literary work that you will be analyzing to the idea in the hook, in the sentence that you just wrote. And in order for any bridge to stand upright, it must contain 2 elements. The first element is that the bridge must contain the title of the text that will be analyzed. The second element is that the bridge must contain the author of the text that will be analyzed. So in writing your bridge, you need to have both The Road and Cormac McCarthy somewhere in that sentence. So let's take a look at some hook-bridge combos. This is what happens when we combine hook and a bridge together. In his poem, The Hollow Men, T.S. Eliot famously wrote, "This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but a whimper." In Cormac McCarthy's Pulitzer Prize-winning The Road, a spiritual successor to Eliot's The Wasteland, our world whimpers in its final gasping breath, suffering the aftermath of an unnamed apocalyptic event. So again, my bridge has both the author's name and the title of the text that will be analyzed. And you see that I'm linking the idea in my hook about the way the world ends to the road itself. And I'm saying that just like T.S. Eliot wrote about in this famous quote, the world is ending in a similar fashion in Cormac McCarthy's The Road. And that's why these two ideas are so connected. So I've built a hook and a bridge that connect to each other. After you've built your hook and your bridge, you give a summary of the book's plot. Now this is just going to be 2 sentences. It shouldn't be more and it shouldn't be less. So here's an example summary of The Road from essay prompt number 1. In this novel, a father and son travel a barren and hellish landscape in search of a safe haven, a place where they might find refuge from wandering marauders and cannibals. However, it is the filial bond between father and son that offers true protection against the forces of evil. Again, your summary is not going to give spoilers. It's not going to reveal the ending of The Road. It's also not going to reveal specific elements of the father and son's journey throughout the book. It is essentially a tagline for what The Road is about. It should only reveal enough for your audience to understand what you're talking about in the context of your essay. So make sure your summaries do not go on too long and they reveal only enough for your audience to understand what you are talking about in your essay. After you've given your summary, you give your central claim. Your central claim is also known as a thesis. This is the main point of your analytical essay. This should be a debatable point. 2 reasonable people should be able to argue either side of the point that you are trying to prove. No one would write an essay where the central claim is the sky is blue. Obviously the sky is blue. There's no point in debating that unless you want to be contrarian. So make sure that your central claim and its main point are a debatable statement. Here's an example of a central claim for The Road from essay prompt 1. Ultimately, McCarthy contends that it is the destructive nature of humankind that caused the apocalypse, and it is only through our potential for love that we may survive it. And now you're going to see that my central claim does a pretty good job of answering that big question of prompt 1. Prompt 1 asks, why are so many survivors acting with such cruelty in the novel? And ultimately, what is McCarthy's message to the reader about the nature of humankind? Is it positive or negative? In my central claim, I've essentially answered that question. I've said, ultimately, McCarthy contends that it is the destructive nature of humankind that caused the apocalypse, and it is only through our potential for love that we may survive it, meaning that it is humankind that destroyed the world, but also it is humankind that could build it back up again. Let's put it all together and see how it flows. So we're going to see how the hook and bridge flow into the summary, which then flows into the central claim. In his poem, The Hollow Men, T.S. Eliot famously wrote, "This is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper." In Cormac McCarthy's Pulitzer Prize-winning The Road, a spiritual successor to Eliot's The Wasteland, our world whimpers in its final gasping breath, suffering the aftermath of an unnamed apocalyptic event. In this novel, a father and son travel a barren and hellish landscape in search of a safe haven, a place where they might find refuge from wandering marauders and cannibals. However, it is the filial bond between father and son that offers true protection against the forces of evil. Ultimately, McCarthy contends that it is the destructive nature of humankind that caused the apocalypse, and it is only through our potential for love that we may survive it. So that is a 5-sentence introductory paragraph. It goes from a hook to a bridge to a summary to a central claim. I want you to refer back to this lecture when you start writing your own introductory paragraphs, as I know there is a lot of information to take in. All right, have a lovely day.